So today, Merlin Entertainment released their social distancing plans for all of their attractions across the globe. So I thought in today's video I'd go in depth and take a look at each of these new measures that will obviously keep people safe when they're visiting different attractions from Merlin themselves. Now obviously we are awaiting some information from singular other parks, obviously like Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and that, which are under the operation of Merlin, to announce what they're doing and when they're opening. However, we do have a good idea of how this is going to work and what social distancing measures are going to be put in place. So, if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, anything that makes me know you guys like my content. As well as that, definitely leave any video suggestions you guys have down below as well, and I'll take all of them into account. So, with all that said, let's get right into the video. Okay then, so starting off then, we have obviously booking. Now obviously booking is a huge thing. Obviously you need to book a ticket before you go to Thorpe Park, and usually obviously for those who have been to Thorpe Park before, there are ticketing booths just to the side of the entrance. However, these do look like they will be mostly closed. Merlin have said that it would be very much advisable to book online, obviously so that you're really reducing that human contact between people, which is a very important thing, and is kind of not really a shock at all. Obviously I'm getting all this information from Merlin themselves. It is actually on a document that I'll leave linked in the description below. So this is real stuff that Merlin have said, but I know it's very hard to find on their website, so I'll leave that down below for all of you as well. So as well as this, obviously we do have a little bit of information about masks. Now obviously masks are generally dedicated and generated to certain people, and Merlin said whoever needs these masks will be able to pick one up at the park, obviously, or attraction, or wherever you are. Now obviously I'm assuming these will be top tier masks. They won't be like crappy non-working ones, obviously, because they're in touch with the government. These masks will be the top tip shape that obviously they need to have them to be. So that is a very good news. Obviously this does help people who need the masks to wear them, and obviously stop the kind of transmission of the virus in that very small but effective way. As well as this, we obviously have contactless payment. Now this has been thrown around quite for a while now, and obviously, you know, this is a no-brainer again. Obviously you don't want to be transmitting cash really nowadays because of the virus, and it's a very easy way to spread it. Obviously contactless payment is an alternative to that. Obviously these will be used throughout the resort in shops, restaurants, and they will be open, but obviously we'll get into that sort of stuff in just a second. But yeah, this shouldn't be too much of an inconvenience for anyone, because I know a lot of people do use contactless, so it won't exactly be a huge loss for most. But obviously, once again, it is a step further to help keep people safe. And as well as this, obviously, the no-brainer one, if you are ill, do not visit the resort. No matter how ill you are, whether you don't think you have COVID or whether you think you have it, do not go. Merlin are really kind of pressuring people that are ill not to attend at all, obviously, which is a very smart tactic. And obviously, if any of you do feel ill, even though yes, you may really want to get to the resort, but please keep in mind that obviously you're putting other people at risk if you do go while you are ill. So yeah, stand clear of that. That's something Merlin have said, but obviously I would have thought that'd be a no-brainer. Okay, so now we're starting to get into the heavy hitters. Firstly, here on this next page, we have reduced ticketing. Now obviously Thorpe Park do generally create a certain amount of tickets obviously to their guests. However, they're significantly, and they use the word significantly in there, reducing the amount of tickets they are selling. Now I don't know how this applies to annual pass holders. I'm fairly sure that if you own an annual pass, you have priority and you can still get in whenever you want. However, I haven't really touched upon that just yet. We may have to wait for different specifics from different parks maybe for that. But obviously this is to help enforce social distancing, to allow less people in the park, obviously without obviously hurting their numbers. There won't be like stupid amounts like 300 there. There'll be, you know, maybe 3/4 of what would usually be at the park, which is still a big loss. But obviously, like I said, to help enforce social distancing, so you're not really in contact with as many people as you would be on a full day. Okay then, so moving on to a little bit more of a minor one now, we have car parking. Now car parking generally is an absolute nightmare at Thorpe Park. However, this actually could help the traffic in a little bit. It says here, when you enter the resort or when you actually enter any theme park or attraction, there will be guided spots for you to go, and by the little image they have next to it, it does look like you're going to be spaced, you know, and have a space in between you when you're car parking, to obviously allow you to get out of your car without being in contact and close proximity to other people, which obviously isn't much of an inconvenience. and I think, you know, it won't be too bad for most people. Now obviously on that kind of theme, we also will be seeing new signage put up all over the resort to obviously promote what you have to do to keep yourself safe due to COVID. Obviously this is another no-brainer and will obviously really help people understand. I'm assuming these will also be maybe even playing on the screen just above the entrance at Thorpe Park, and obviously at Alton Towers they may have them in the box office. There's loads of different places for them to play different messages, and not only that, have just signs laying around the resort as well, obviously to help people keep aware of what to do. Okay, so obviously the main thing is when you're entering the entrance. I know a lot of different theme parks and stuff over in China. Obviously they've mainly been operating fairly normally recently. Obviously before you go into the park or anything to do with Merlin in the UK and throughout the world, you will have to have a temperature check, which is obviously very, very understandable. Obviously it's to distinguish people who have temperatures to then be escorted out the resort. You know, and it's something that is going to be regularly done regardless, whether or not it's a theme park or not. Shops may be doing it. This is kind of a way to help single people out and make sure that it's a little bit more safer. Obviously there's no need to panic when you're getting temperature checks. It's literally just like, you know, having a doctor putting a thermometer in your ear. Obviously this will be very hygienic. They'll swap off the caps and it'll be a very kind of clean and quick process. This most likely will be done where obviously the baggage checks are. The baggage checks will still be checked. However, obviously they may do the temperature there as well. So yeah, that's a little bit of a bigger one, but obviously that once again is really to enforce that kind of safety for not only the guests but the staff as well. Okay then, so now we're starting to get into the little bit more social distancing focused stuff when you're actually in the park. Now obviously they have labelled that there will be queue line markings for specific groups to stay in, obviously allowing social distancing to continue, which is perfectly fine. That sounds very, very viable. China, I think Shanghai Disney, I think that has opened, has been doing that, so that's been working fairly well. On rides there will be rows that will be empty. I'm guessing there'll be one row, then leave a row, one row, then leave a row. Obviously because there'll be less people in the park, this won't necessarily actually be too much of a problem. Obviously it's then to help space people out, and that's kind of the same with people in the middle of, you know, like Nemesis for example. They may reduce people being, you know, in the middle of you because obviously they're rows of 4. That's obviously been put in place to help that. Restaurants actually I'm really surprised with even opening, but the more I think about it, the more they've actually dealt with this really well. Tables and chairs for your specific group will be distanced away from others. Obviously the contactless payment will be focused on here as well. Obviously to pay for your food you will use the contactless, and then you'll be put into your seating, which will obviously be social distance from other people, which I think is a really good idea and does help the kind of food market of Thorpe Park, Alton Towers and that really up and flowing. Okay, so focusing a little bit more on the shop side then, there will be reduced numbers of people going into shops now, which again is very, very sensible, obviously to ensure that social distancing is kept within those. As well as that, obviously you will see different staff members walking around keeping the social distancing regulations, whether or not you're on a ride or in a shop, as well as being in shops and keeping that safe distance. Thorpe Park are actually implementing screens, like glass screens. Obviously you've seen these many times before in like the ticket booths and that. They're basically just to separate you from the person so that you're not, you know, transmitting anything through breath. They obviously have microphones there, so you'll be able to talk normally, just like you would normally when you're buying tickets. However, obviously this is to keep the staff safe and it isn't really too focused on the guests. With these new social distancing measures also put in place, this will mean that different kind of interactive areas of the parks and attractions will obviously be suspended or changed. Merlin have said they are going to adapt some of them to make them a little bit more focused and let them actually kind of open again. These include kind of like the stall games you see. There'll be maybe even some adaptations to them. Either that or they will be closed. Obviously we've seen this in the sea life over in Orlando. They've closed like the tide touching pool where you touch the different animals inside of the actual kind of tide pool thing, and along with adventure playgrounds and things like that. And that's going to be a big thing at Chessington as well as Legoland. However, they will most likely be closed. Enhanced cleaning regimes will also be used throughout the resort, obviously regularly cleaning restraints down. I'm assuming this is going to happen every single time the new ride carriage comes through. They'll offload the people, wipe down the restraints, oh, knock my frame then, and then obviously let more people on, which is very, very sensible. And obviously if this kind of continues on, like I said, every time a new one comes in, that will then enforce that clean and hygiene, and you'll be able to touch those restraints safely. This will also happen with door handles and things like that, so I wouldn't really worry about touching anything, but still be wary obviously, but they are cleaning. Obviously, sticking on this kind of hygiene topic, there will also be hygiene stations all around the park, obviously hand sanitisers and things like that, as well as personal protective equipment, obviously used for the staff to help them keep them safe, as well as that, obviously, if there are any reports of COVID-19 on site anywhere in the Merlin attractions, there will be deep cleans taking place to ensure that the area that it took place in is extremely safe. Okay then, so that is all the information I have for you guys today. I hope you did enjoy. Now obviously we're still waiting on when these parks and that will reopen. However, looking at when the ticket booking and that has been refunded from, it looks like the 3rd or 4th of July will be the opening day for these brand new opening times.